Henry Cejudo finds himself in unprecedented territory after losing the UFC Seattle main event to Song Yadong, a unfortunate way to suffer a career-long third consecutive defeat on his record, but this is the reality for Cejudo. Even though it was a strange end to the fight where he was poked in the eye, vicious double eye poke by Song in that third round. Cejudo said he could not continue going into the fourth after taking all the time of the 5 minutes allotted from the eye poke. A lot of questions and speculation on whether he should have just said he was done when the eye poke happened. Maybe it leads to a no contest or a disqualification, but he chooses to go on to the fourth. The fight stopped immediately, and that's how we set up the technical unanimous decision loss for Cejudo. And now coming out of this fight, 3-fight losing skid, and unless he turns around before May, which seems highly unlikely at this point, he is going to be going on 5 years without a mixed martial arts win after retiring from the sport as a near double champion back in May 2020. A lot of questions about whether that was a very bad choice. You could say definitely now, considering since his unretirement in May 2023, he has lost all 3 of his fights, and I don't think he looked horrible in this one. He had his moments, but Song just seemed to have him kind of figured out. He couldn't get the takedowns going on his minimal tries, couldn't get the big strikes going, and then just a weird ending there. So this is the result. I'm sure Henry would like a rematch. Dana White at the UFC press conference saying not interested in that, so it leaves him in a pretty difficult spot. I think the title trajectory hopes are all but killed at this point, and he just needs to figure out what he wants to do. I think the hero life-saving lifeline move for him at this point would maybe be going down to flyweight, if his body can do that at this age, closer to 40 than 30. But if he can, there is most definitely a new life there, and thin division, especially Alexandre Pantoja keeps defending that belt. There's a storyline there. I think he could do that as like a lifeline, but if he stays at bantamweight and just wants to keep fighting, I think the title is out of reach, and he has to look at fights that I guess are just maybe like fun matchups. Jose Aldo, which would be great. They were scheduled to fight once upon a time. A Marlon Chito Vera, they were scheduled to fight once upon a time in Boston. So there is still storylines, there is still fights there for Henry Cejudo if he wants to keep going, but definitely a very deflating loss in terms of his situation as a title hopeful, a draw for the UFC, all these different things. So big decisions for Henry Cejudo to make now, given he's never been in this type of spot before. We will see what he does. Unfortunate way to lose the fight, but this is the reality of the sport sometimes. So we'll see what is next for Henry Cejudo after a disappointing result at UFC Seattle.